You think it's what you say in front of others that shapes your life. You think it's the declarations you post online, the affirmations spoken aloud in morning light, the vision boards and bold goals taped to your mirror that create the life you see. But I tell you the truth, the most dangerous words you speak are the ones no one hears, the ones muttered under your breath when you're alone, the ones that escape your lips in the dark, in defeat, in secrecy, the words you whisper when you think God isn't listening. But God is always listening, not to your mask, not to your performance, but to your pattern. And your pattern is written in the sentences you speak when your back is to the wall and the curtain is drawn. I speak now to the soul who is tired of cycles, tired of doing everything right and seeing everything go wrong, tired of affirmations in the morning and anxiety at midnight, tired of visualizing one thing and watching the opposite appear. You think you're blocked. You think something is resisting your good. But what if the saboteur is your own silent speech? What if the life you're living is not the result of your conscious faith, but the fruit of your whispered fear? Let me be clear, the subconscious hears everything. It does not differentiate between light and dark, between good and bad, between truth and lie. It simply receives what is spoken and makes it real. It obeys without judgment. It responds without delay. And while you're praying for miracles at sunrise, it's still replaying the curses you uttered under your breath at midnight. It doesn't care what you meant. It registers what you said. And so, if you speak despair in secret and faith in public, do not be surprised when your world reflects the former. The soil doesn't care if the seed was planted with intention or accident. It grows what you drop into it. But here is the glory. The same law that produced the harvest you did not want can produce the harvest you now choose. And it begins in the dark. The turning point is not when everything looks better. It is when you speak differently while nothing has changed. It is when the room is still empty and you say, I am full. It is when your body still hurts and you say, I am healed. It is when your bank account says 0 and you say, God is my unfailing supply. That's when the shift begins, not in the circumstance, but in the root. So I make this holy declaration now, and I ask you to speak it aloud with me, not as a habit, but as a verdict. I now speak light into every shadow of my being, again slowly, with the full authority of one who knows their word is law. I now speak light into every shadow of my being. No matter how long I've whispered fear, light now enters that corner. No matter how long I've rehearsed lack, light now dissolves it. No matter how hidden the patterns, I bring them to the altar of speech and I rewrite them. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be aware. You only need to remember that the power is not in your perfection, but in your patterned word. And that word begins to change when you change what you say in the dark. The private word becomes the public harvest. The hidden declaration becomes the visible breakthrough. And so we begin. And so it is. There is a law more active than gravity, more precise than arithmetic, more consistent than the sunrise. It is the law of subconscious imprinting. And whether you believe in it or not, it is working. Whether you fear it, fight it, or forget it, it is writing the future of your experience with quiet, unsentimental precision. This law governs the unseen realm, where your spoken word becomes seed and your inner world becomes soil. And every syllable you speak, especially when you are alone, especially when you are hurting, especially when you are no longer pretending, is a seed dropped into the most obedient ground in all of creation, your subconscious mind. The subconscious is not poetic. It does not care about the context. It does not weigh your intentions. It does not say, she was just venting, or he didn't mean it. It simply receives, it absorbs, it accepts whatever is said in repetition, with emotional charge or in solitude. It listens not just when you're seated in meditation or chanting your morning affirmations. It listens most when you're driving in silence, when you're laying in bed alone with your thoughts, when you're washing dishes and muttering about how tired you are, how broke you feel, how nothing ever works. That's when the seeds get planted. Not the words you say when you're inspired, but the ones you say by habit. And Jesus spoke it clearly. He left no room for confusion. For there is nothing hidden that will not be made manifest. Luke 8:17. What does that mean? It means every private declaration becomes a public result. Every whispered complaint becomes a circumstance. Every late-night confession, even said in exhaustion or jest, becomes matter. The subconscious is not sentimental, it is structural. It takes the blueprint of your inner speech and builds a world to match it. You think you're just surviving the day, but if you are not conscious, you are scripting the next one. So ask yourself, what have you spoken in the dark? What did you say to yourself after the breakup, after the failure, after the job rejection? What did you declare when the bill came, when the scale rose, when the door shut? Did you say, nothing ever works for me? Did you whisper, I knew this would happen again? Did you mutter, I can't afford that? Because those words didn't vanish into thin air. They were planted, and unless they are uprooted by truth, they will grow. But here is the miracle. Just as easily as the subconscious accepts fear, it accepts faith. Just as it absorbed doubt, it will absorb declaration. It does not resist correction. It does not hold grudges. It simply obeys. So you do not need to be perfect. You only need to be present. Present enough to hear yourself in the dark. Present enough to catch the pattern. Present enough to say, that was a seed I do not consent to grow. And so now we speak what will be made manifest. Say this with me, not to hope, but to plant. My subconscious is holy ground. I only plant what I want to see. Again, with certainty, my subconscious is holy ground. I only plant what I want to see. This is how your unseen becomes seen. This is how the invisible turns to form. The law does not delay. It does not sleep. It simply fulfills what has been whispered. So let us whisper no more. Let us declare. And so it is. It is easy to speak faith when the sun is shining. It is easy to speak prosperity when the bank is full. It is easy to declare wholeness when the body feels strong and the room echoes with applause. But those words, though good, are not the ones that shape your destiny. The most powerful words are not spoken in the light. They are spoken in the dark, when you don't feel like saying them, when the tears blur the page, when the air is thick with fear and nothing looks like what you prayed for. That is the hour of creation. That is the moment where divine power is forged. That is when your voice matters most. So I ask you now, not what do you say when it's working, but what do you say when it's not? What comes out of your mouth in the hallway between the prayer and the promise? Do you say, why does this always happen to me? Do you mutter, it's always something? Do you repeat, I can't handle this, even as you live through it? That's the pattern. That's the loop. That's the lie clothed in emotion, scripting your next delay. Because while feelings are allowed to pass through, they are not allowed to speak for you. You are not a victim of your feelings. You are the authority over your words. And feelings may scream, but they do not create. Only the word does. So here is the holy shift. When grief tightens its grip, speak light. When anxiety rattles your chest, speak peace. When lack rises up and mocks you, speak divine supply. Not because you feel like it, but because you are rooted in law, not in mood. Say with me now, like you are carving it into your atmosphere. Though I walk in darkness, I speak only light. Again, slower, stronger. Though I walk in darkness, I speak only light. You are not denying the pain. You are refusing to give it the microphone. You are not ignoring the emotion. You are deciding who gets to write your next chapter. And it is not the fear. It is not the panic. It is not the inherited voice of your mother's struggle or your father's silence. It is the truth that you now claim as your compass. There is a moment in every trial, in every valley, where the enemy of your soul waits in the shadows, not to strike, but to agree. To get you to agree with lack, to agree with loss, to agree with limitation. It whispers, say it. Say you're tired. Say you're done. Say it's not working, just once. Because if you say it, you plant it. And if you plant it, it must grow. But you don't have to. You don't have to come into agreement with hell. You don't have to come into agreement with feeling. You don't have to lend your mouth to the old cycle. You can stop it cold with truth. Say this now, not with emotion but with authority. Feelings pass, word creates. One more time as instruction to your inner world. Feelings pass, word creates. Let your body tremble. Let your knees shake. Let your tears fall. But do not change your confession. Because when all of this passes, and it will, what remains will be what you spoke in the middle. And if you spoke light, light will be your reward. You are not weak for crying, but you are not called to curse yourself in your cry. You are not broken for feeling pain, but you are not commanded to narrate the pain as your identity. You are not forbidden from grief, but you are never to give grief your microphone. Only truth deserves that place. So the next time it hurts, when the bill comes, when the friend leaves, when the report returns, pause, breathe, and say, though I walk in darkness, I speak only light. Because the dark has no power where the word walks, and so it is. You've been speaking things you didn't mean, and your life has been agreeing with them. You've been calling yourself broke, tired, unlucky, and cursed, and the world, with all its silent agreement, has nodded and said, yes, as you wish. Not because you're being punished, not because spirit delights in your struggle, but because the subconscious is law-bound and neutral. It does not filter for compassion. It does not check for spiritual alignment. It simply records and repeats. And every phrase you have ever spoken in fear is still there, looping quietly in the background of your being, setting expectations, filtering opportunities, scripting delay like it's destiny. But I tell you now, destiny is not delay. It is spoken decree. And what you decreed in fear must be overwritten. You are not condemned by what you've said in panic. You are only required to take dominion over it. Your past words do not hold permanent power unless you let them. So now we begin the sacred work of reprogramming the subconscious loop, not with violence, not with shame, but with consecrated authority. And it begins with this phrase. Say it now, slowly, like a key turning in a lock. I cancel every word I spoke in fear. Again, louder. I cancel every word I spoke in fear. Not one whisper of worry will remain rooted. Not one muttered curse will continue bearing fruit. Not one apology you made to lack will be honored. Every word that was born in anxiety, born in despair, born in inherited patterns of fear, they are nullified now. And now I invite you into the vision. See it. Close your eyes and see your old words floating in front of you. Those shadowy sentences you whispered late at night, the ones that made you feel small, unworthy, incapable. See them written in dark ink on the walls of your subconscious. I can't afford it. No one ever stays. It's always hard for me. That's just my luck. Now watch as light begins to pour in, liquid gold, radiant, warm, alive. It floods the room of your inner being, and every word written in shadow melts, not erased by effort, but dissolved by truth. Let that golden light overwrite the lies. Let it replace every fearful imprint with divine coding. Now, in that same golden light, begin the new loop, begin the new law. Speak this aloud with reverence and rhythm. My inner language matches divine law. Again, my inner language matches divine law. No more contradiction. No more confession of fear while affirming faith. No more duality. You are now aligned, inner and outer, seen and unseen. You no longer leak lack in private while proclaiming prosperity in public. You no longer speak two languages. You are fluent in only one, the language of spiritual truth. This is the reprogramming, not once, not in bursts, but daily, rhythmically, relentlessly. You speak what you mean, and you mean what aligns with divine mind. You no longer casually curse yourself. You no longer joke in defeat. You no longer mutter lies in stress and wonder why the world echoes them back. You speak with full awareness that the loop is live. Every syllable you speak is setting the tone for what you will live. So once more, seal it in sound. I cancel every word I spoke in fear. My inner language matches divine law. Let that phrase become the guardian at the gate of your mind. Let it stand watch every time a fearful sentence tries to rise. And let it remind you, you are not just the speaker, you are the scribe of your soul. And the new story begins now, and so it is. You must stop speaking from your surroundings. You must stop narrating the dirt as if it's your destiny. The world you see is not your truth, it's your residue. It is the temporary echo of your old word. But if you keep reporting what surrounds you, if you keep speaking from the appearance of lack, from the dust of discouragement, from the fog of confusion, you will stay bound to the soil. And the soil was never meant to be your authority. It was meant to be your servant. The soil responds to the seed, not the other way around. But when you look at the soil and adjust your confession to match it, you abort the harvest before it ever grows. I say it now, as a command to your inner being. Stop speaking from the soil. Stop saying what is. Stop explaining what hurts. Stop defining yourself by the dust you're walking through. Speak from the seed. Speak from what you've planted, what you've prophesied, what you've dared to declare in the unseen. You do not speak the dirt, you speak the tree. And the tree may not be visible yet, but if the seed was true, then the outcome is guaranteed. The tree is inevitable. The harvest is already coded into the word. Your only job is to keep speaking what's been planted, not what surrounds the seed in the meantime. Imagine the seed in the ground, buried, covered in silence, surrounded by darkness, pressed by dirt, no sunlight, no applause, nothing visible. But within it, encoded in silence, is the full blueprint of the tree. The roots, the trunk, the branches, the fruit. All of it, already in motion. The seed doesn't need to understand the dirt. It doesn't ask the soil for permission. It doesn't complain about the darkness. It simply begins to rise because the code inside it has already decided what it will become. So why, child of God, do you stare at the dirt and speak defeat when the blueprint of greatness is already within you? I challenge you now. No longer speak from your surroundings, speak only from the seed. If you planted wealth, speak abundance, even if the numbers say otherwise. If you planted healing, speak wholeness, even if the pain is still present. If you planted favor, speak open doors, even if every phone call is a no. You are not here to describe the dirt, you are here to prophesy the tree. And when you speak from the seed, you agree with the law that governs inevitable increase. Say it now as a holy challenge to your own mouth. I no longer speak from what surrounds me, I speak from what I've planted. Again, I speak not the soil, I speak the tree. Let this be your shift point. Let this be the moment your word stops echoing fear and starts activating fruit. And so it is. Let us now speak, not from emotion, but from dominion. Let us declare, not from anxiety, but from alignment. These are not chants to soothe your nerves. These are not poetic phrases to sound spiritual. These are verbal instruments of spiritual agriculture, each one a seed sown deep into the soil of your subconscious, each one backed by the full authority of divine law. Speak them now, not with hesitation, but as one who knows that what is planted in word will bear fruit in form. Your tongue is not idle. It is a spiritual tool, and this is how we build. Say this aloud with me, as if heaven and earth are pausing to hear it. My subconscious is fertile with light. Again, my subconscious is fertile with light. No more planting in fear. No more writing failure into your being with every emotional outburst. No more polluting the garden of your soul with careless murmurs. From this moment forward, you become intentional, you become rooted, you become responsible for the words you drop into yourself, and light is the only thing permitted to grow. My subconscious is fertile with light. Now speak the seed, call it by name, let the soil know what to multiply. Say, I plant wealth, health, and wholeness with my word. Again, deeper. I plant wealth, health, and wholeness with my word. You are not wishing. You are not begging. You are installing. You are writing a new code. You are telling the invisible realm what to build next. No more vague desires. No more fear-covered prayers. You name it. You speak it. And you plant it in the sacred field of your own inner being. I plant wealth, health, and wholeness with my word. Now cleanse the ground, guard it, protect it. Speak this like a sword held against every old pattern. No fear phrase shall take root in me. Say it again. No fear phrase shall take root in me. Fear may knock, worry may whisper, but you no longer give those voices authority. They are not allowed to live in you. They are not allowed to build in you. You hear them and you replace them. You notice them and you denounce them. And the moment you do, their seed loses power. You are the gatekeeper now. No fear phrase shall take root in me. And now we close this sequence, not with a question mark, not with a pause, but with finality, with truth as the last sound. Only truth bears fruit. Again, slowly, like you're engraving it into your spiritual DNA, only truth bears fruit. Not fear, not complaint, not history, not logic, not feelings, only truth. And from now on, truth is all you speak. And so it is. Have you been planting weeds with your words? Have you, in the secret hours of exhaustion, dropped phrases into your subconscious that never should have been spoken? Be honest now, not to be ashamed, but to be free. Did you say, it's always hard? Did you whisper, I don't know how much more I can take? Did you mutter, nothing ever works for me? Those were not just expressions. Those were seeds. And the law did not judge you. It obeyed you. The soil did not resist you. It responded. But today, with one conscious breath, one sacred decision, one holy sentence, you can begin the reversal. You are not here to punish yourself for what you said. You are here to take back the microphone. You are here to stop letting fear write your future. You are here to speak the light that transforms your dark. And I ask you now, not for me but for you, to mark this moment in sound and symbol. If your atmosphere has shifted, if your inner world has stirred, if you feel something new rising from the depths, then declare it where the law can witness it and your soul can confirm it. Comment now, I now speak light into my dark. Let it be your line in the sand. Let it be your reversal. Let it be your resurrection. Say it, type it, mean it. I now speak light into my dark, and return often, because the soil never sleeps, and the word still works, and so it is. There is a law that governs the unseen moment, the hour when no one is watching, when no one is affirming you, when the room is still and your fears get loud. It is not the law of hustle, not the law of performance. It is the law of silence paired with the spoken word. This law does not activate when you are celebrated. It activates when you are alone. When the sun has set, when the body is tired, when your soul drifts toward vulnerability, when the curtain of the day closes and you meet yourself, this is when the real decree begins. This is where creation starts, not with applause, but in the hush. The night symbolizes more than sleep. It symbolizes the subconscious phase of manifestation, when nothing looks alive, yet everything is forming, when the seed is buried and no evidence exists, when all activity seems to have stopped, but divine movement is most intense. And it is in this hour, the hour of mystery, the hour of darkness, that the law listens more closely than ever. Because in silence, your true belief rises. In stillness, your real decree speaks. And what you speak in this quiet, hidden hour becomes the architecture of your morning. It is no coincidence that Scripture says, "At midnight a cry was heard." Matthew 25:6. Midnight is not just a time, it is a metaphor. It is the point where delay turns to fulfillment. It is the spiritual pivot between hidden and seen. And at midnight, the cry that is heard is not noise, it is command. It is faith spoken without sight. It is truth declared in the face of nothing. It is the spiritual substance that pierces the invisible and brings forth the visible. That cry was not random, it was timed, it was lawful. Because midnight is when the unseen is stirred by the word. So I ask you, what do you say when you lie in bed and your mind spins? What do you say when the phone goes silent and the bank app shows red and no answers arrive? What do you say in the middle of the night, when no one will judge you, when no one will catch you, when you believe your speech is private and exempt from consequence? Because that is where the next version of your life is being built, not in your public affirmations, but in your private whispers. The law of the middle of the night says this: what you say in the dark decides what shows up in the light, not just because it's poetic, but because the subconscious is most open, most impressionable, most creative in stillness. This is why so many repeat their patterns even after making conscious declarations, because the subconscious still obeys the midnight monologue. Let that change now. Let this be the shift. From this night forward, your silence becomes sacred. Your whispers become aligned, and your word becomes the prophecy of your next sunrise. And so it is. There is a sound that rises in the soul when the lights go off and the world goes quiet. It is not always audible. It doesn't come from the mouth, but it floods the mind. It's the sound of panic rehearsing possibilities. It's the sound of fear replaying memories. It's the sound of dread forecasting what might go wrong. That is the night cry. And if you do not override it, it will write your next day before it ever begins. Because even in the hours when you appear to be resting, the subconscious remains alert. It listens. It absorbs. It takes those anxious mental loops as instruction. And it begins creating in silence what you never would have chosen in light. So what do you do when insomnia grips your chest? What do you say when panic rises like a flood in the middle of the night? What words are you to speak when you feel powerless, eyes wide open, mind racing, body tight with tension? You override. You do not echo the fear. You do not analyze the worry. You do not narrate your helplessness. You override the cry with command, and not the kind of command that shouts, but the kind that knows, the kind that speaks not from force, but from certainty. Say this now, with the tone of someone who will no longer surrender their subconscious to fear's programming. I rest under divine protection and perfect timing. Again, slowly, like a lullaby of power. I rest under divine protection and perfect timing. These are not just pretty words. These are alignment codes. These are spiritual instructions sent directly to the realm where your next form is being built. You are no longer letting fear write blueprints in your sleep. You are no longer letting shame narrate your tomorrows while your conscious mind is offline. You are replacing the loop. You are telling the night who is in charge, and the night must obey. Let this become your new sleep ritual, not scrolling, not worrying, not rehearsing arguments, but installing truth. Repeat the words that build. Speak declarations that soothe and command. Even if the mind says nothing is changing, the subconscious receives the repetition. It believes the voice it hears most, and in the dark, with no distraction, it becomes even more responsive to what you say. So do not waste the sacred hours of stillness on thoughts that don't serve you. Override them, interrupt them, replace them, not just once, but over and over again, until the night becomes your servant and not your enemy. Speak softly if you must, but speak. Declare peace, declare safety, declare divine order. If the thought says, "What if it all falls apart?" you answer with, "I am divinely held in every detail." If the thought says, "You can't afford this," you reply, "All my needs are met under grace and in perfect ways." If the thought says, "It's too late," you answer, "Time bows to divine law. I am always on time." You are not too tired to speak. You are too powerful to stay silent. Let the cry of the night be overridden now. Let the voice of spirit rise higher than the noise of fear. Say it once more as your final word before sleep, your banner over the dream realm. I rest under divine protection and perfect timing. And the law will receive that sentence. And your tomorrow will obey, and so it is. Some of the most dangerous forces shaping your life are not outer enemies. They are inner agreements, quiet ones, whispered ones, agreements you never consciously made, but silently adopted in the heat of fear, fatigue, or generational programming. These are not always loud beliefs. They are subtle. They hide in your tone, in your hesitation, in your self-talk, in the private sentences you never dared to say aloud. They shape how quickly you act, how boldly you ask, how much good you will actually allow. They are the invisible saboteurs that sit in the subconscious, undetected, scripting cycles. But I speak to that now, not with judgment, but with authority. You are not bound to what you once agreed with in fear. You are free to revoke it, and you must. You must identify the inner confessions that have been shaping your outer condition. The whispered sentences you said in a moment of disappointment. The things you repeated after a parent who didn't know better. The mantras you murmured in heartbreak. The labels you accepted from rejection. These things do not live in your conscious mind. They lurk below. They do not speak in paragraphs. They breathe in fragments. I'm not the type of person who, "That's just not in the cards for me." People like me don't. It always ends like this. You never meant to build a home for those words, but you did. You repeated them long enough that the subconscious made space for them. But now you must cleanse the temple, not with shame, not with regret, but with divine fire. Say this now with the gravity of a soul reclaiming its structure. I renounce every whispered limitation. Again, like you're tearing up an old contract, I renounce every whispered limitation. These are not just words. They are evictions. You are no longer the host of hidden sabotage. You are no longer the quiet partner in a false belief. You are no longer living by internalized ceilings that spirit never gave you. I renounce every whispered limitation. That phrase becomes the broom, the sword, the wind that clears the dust of decades. You do not need to know exactly where the lie came from. You only need to know it no longer belongs. Now, close your eyes and see it. In your mind's eye, picture a table. Upon it are sheets of paper, each one holding a sentence you've spoken in fear. Inherited words, cultural curses, scarcity scripts, lines like, "I'm not smart enough. It's too late for me. I'll always struggle. I'm not worthy of wealth." Now watch as a flame appears, not harsh, not chaotic, but holy, gold, violet, glowing from within. And with each breath, the fire consumes the page. The words shrivel, fade, disappear. You do not cling. You do not plead. You let them burn. They were never yours. You were never meant to carry them. This is the fire of spiritual reprogramming, and it leaves no ash behind. As the fire clears, see a new inscription appear, not written by trauma, not spoken by fear, but engraved by divine mind. I speak only what aligns with truth. I am the vessel of sacred instruction. My subconscious obeys only what serves. Let these words take root where the weeds once were. Let them resound louder than the lies. Let your silence now be filled with holiness. Let your inner monologue become a sanctuary. Because the saboteur has been evicted, and only truth lives here now. Say it once more. I renounce every whispered limitation. And so it is. There is a moment in every day, every season, every soul's unfolding, when all the noise fades and silence stretches before you like a mirror. And for most, that silence feels like discomfort. It feels like lack. It feels like something is missing. So we fill it with worry, with replayed conversations, with loops of doubt dressed as thinking. But I challenge you now, stop filling silence with fear. Stop pouring worry into the gaps where spirit was ready to speak. Stop narrating doom just because no one else is talking. Silence is not your enemy. Silence is not a void. Silence is the throne room of spiritual instruction. You must retrain yourself to see stillness not as emptiness, but as readiness. The silence is not absence. It is presence waiting to respond. And the only voice that should break that stillness is the one that knows who it is and what it commands. When all is still, you do not panic. You prophesy. You do not fill the space with guessing. You fill it with decree. Because the silence is not empty air, it is sacred canvas, and your word paints the future upon it. So when the moment comes, when the room goes quiet, when the phone doesn't ring, when no answer appears, don't fill it with noise. Don't reach for distraction. Don't go hunting for someone else's voice to break the stillness. Speak, not as a beggar, not as a victim, as a creator, as a vessel of divine authority. Stand in that silence like it's a courtroom and the verdict depends on your tongue. Stand in that stillness like it's holy ground. And say this with me now, not as poetry, but as law. Peace obeys my voice. Again, stronger. Peace obeys my voice. You are not the echo. You are the origin. You are not reacting to the quiet. You are shaping what comes next. Speak into the stillness as if the entire atmosphere is leaning in to obey. Because it is. Speak healing. Speak money. Speak direction. Speak love. Speak strength. Speak restoration. Not after the chaos ends, but right into the center of it. Your voice carries weight when no one else is speaking. Your decree becomes architecture when the ground is bare. So the next time it's quiet, when the world doesn't seem to answer you, when heaven seems silent, when you feel suspended in delay, don't narrate confusion. Don't speak doubt. Don't panic into old scripts. Step forward, open your mouth, and say, "Peace obeys my voice." Because you do not wait for evidence, you create it. And so it is. Now we speak again, not to repeat, but to reinforce, not to inspire emotion, but to imprint divine rhythm into the subconscious. These are not just affirmations, they are activations. They are sacred decrees that recalibrate your inner temple, reroute old programming, and replace subconscious sabotage with spiritual sovereignty. Every word you speak now becomes law in the realm of the unseen, forming the outcomes that will soon walk into view. So speak them not as a request, but as a ruler. Say this with me now, slow and steady, as one who no longer fears the silence. My quiet is filled with sacred decree. Again, as if the walls of your mind are listening, and they are. My quiet is filled with sacred decree. No more wasting stillness. No more using silence as a dumping ground for fear. From this moment forward, every pause becomes a platform. Every moment of stillness becomes a sanctuary where truth is spoken and form is built. My quiet is filled with sacred decree. Now speak your hierarchy. Place your soul back in command. Say this with full knowing. I am not ruled by feelings. I am ruled by truth. Once more, like you are shaking the foundation of old patterns, I am not ruled by feelings. I am ruled by truth. Your feelings are visitors. They do not sit on the throne. They do not draft your future. They do not write your story. They pass through, but they do not remain. And while they come and go, your word stands eternal. I am not ruled by feelings. I am ruled by truth. Now speak from the midnight hour, not as a victim of darkness, but as a voice of light. Say this, my midnight words create my daylight reward. Again, not softly, but as prophecy. My midnight words create my daylight reward. Because what you speak when the world is quiet becomes what the world must reflect. Your reward does not begin with your labor. It begins with your language. What you speak at night becomes what you wake up to next. You are no longer wandering in circles. You are speaking in straight lines toward divine result. My midnight words create my daylight reward. And now, close this round with the final seal, the vow that ends all wavering. Say it now with full alignment. I speak only from faith, never from fear. Again, like it is being etched into the gates of your mind. I speak only from faith, never from fear. No more double-mindedness, no more mixture, no more praying in faith and muttering in doubt. From this breath forward, your word belongs to the kingdom, not to chaos. Your speech is sanctuary. Your voice is vision. Your decree is clean. Let these affirmations anchor you. Let them echo through your day. Let them travel with you into night, because you no longer speak to survive. You speak to create. And so it is. Will you speak light in your next dark hour? Will you remember that your voice is not a decoration, not a ritual, but a spiritual technology that governs form? Will you remember when the feeling returns, when the fear rises, when the room is silent and no one sees, that heaven still hears, that the subconscious still records, that the law still obeys? This is your invitation, not to inspiration, but to dominion, to become a keeper of your own atmosphere, to become a watchman over your own tongue, to turn midnight from a place of collapse into a place of command. Because now you know, now you're accountable. You cannot pretend you don't understand how the dark works. You cannot go back to muttering curses and wondering why nothing grows. From this moment forward, you speak as one who knows, one who understands that the words spoken in the quiet carry more power than the speeches shouted from stages. One who understands that midnight is a portal, and your decree is what determines what steps through it. So I ask you now, not gently, but with fire, will you speak light in your next dark hour? Will you catch yourself before the old phrase repeats? Will you replace the sigh with a sentence of sovereignty? Will you say, not in theory, but in truth, midnight obeys my word? If you're ready to mark that shift in sound and in scroll, comment it now and say it out loud as you type it. Midnight obeys my word, because it does. And now, so do you. And so it is. Everything in your life right now, every condition, every relationship, every dollar, every delay, every breakthrough, exists not because of random events, not because of luck, not because of circumstances beyond your control. It exists because of structure. And the structure beneath it all is built by one thing: your word. Words are not decorations. They are architectural instructions in the invisible. Every sentence you speak becomes scaffolding. Every repeated phrase becomes a beam, a wall, a door. And over time, the world you move through is not the world handed to you by fate. It is the house constructed by your vocabulary. This is not metaphor. It is law, divine law, and Scripture reveals it plainly, without need for interpretation or theological gymnastics. By faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the Word of God. Hebrews 11:3. Worlds, plural. Not just galaxies, not just cosmic spheres, but personal dimensions, life realms, outcomes, experiences. Framed, built, designed, shaped, supported by the Word. That same divine pattern is active in you. Your word frames your world. It outlines what is allowed. It defines what enters. It determines what takes form. You are the builder, not of your emotions, but of your environment. And you build it not with money, not with effort, not with time, but with utterance. You say, I can't take any more, and the structure of collapse begins to rise. You say, it's always something, and the structure of chaos begins to shape itself around you. You say, I never catch a break, and the blueprints adjust to accommodate the next delay. You may not see it instantly, but law is never lazy. The foundation is being poured in the unseen. But here is the miracle. You can rebuild. You can halt the old construction with one conscious declaration. You can issue a new design, even if the old one has been under construction for years. The spiritual realm responds not to time, but to alignment. And the moment you change your speech, the architecture begins to shift. You don't have to fix the past. You just have to stop reinforcing it. Tear down the old walls with silence. Raise new ones with truth. Say this now, not as an idea, but as instruction to your atmosphere. My word frames my world. Again, stronger. My word frames my world. And then ask yourself, what have I been building? A sanctuary or a prison? A palace of overflow or a cage of limitation? Have my phrases created doors or walls? Let this be your blueprint shift, from careless speech to conscious structure, from emotional release to spiritual decree, because the next version of your life is waiting on your next sentence. Build wisely, speak lawfully, frame what you actually want to live in. And so it is. You are not just the actor in the movie of your life. You are the narrator. You are the one who overlays the scenes with meaning, with language, with prophecy. And I ask you now, what have you been narrating? What captions have you placed over your circumstances? What inner monologue have you let play on repeat while you walk through your days? Because many of you are not just going through difficulty, you are narrating yourself deeper into it. You are voicing defeat before it fully arrives. You are calling lack your identity. You are giving confusion